Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm Ukrainian Canadian. Today is December 15th, 2024, and let's get to the news and updates happening in Ukraine and Russia, shall we? So, first, I want to talk about, of course, North Korean troops being officially involved in offensive operations in Kursk. This has been confirmed by Ukrainian troops, who do mention that they have started storming Ukrainian positions in Kursk Oblast. Some of you may say, well, how do you know they're North Korean troops? I think over the next few days we'll get visual confirmation. It's inevitable, and we do know that when Ukraine sounds the alarm, it's not for nothing. So I do believe that we'll have a lot of visual confirmation over the next few days of dead North Korean soldiers in Russia. The Ukrainian soldiers have noted here, so there's a few observations that we can make, is that hundreds of them have taken part in the offensive operation yesterday. And hundreds of them were running in open fields throughout the front line in Kursk. And this tells us that they are completely unaware of the realities of the war right now. The fact that there are FPV drones that can easily hunt them. I have not seen footage like this where there were dozens, if not perhaps even hundreds of Russian soldiers running in open fields. If they are running in open fields, it's small squads of 3 to 5 Russian soldiers, and they often understand the fact that there's FPV drones. They usually run around kind of forested areas. They try not to be too visible. So this is very telling that they're still very amateurish soldiers. However, it is important to note here that the Ukrainians mention that they appear to be motivated and they continue pressing forward despite the losses that they have incurred over the last few hours. Part of it is, of course, the fact that Kim Jong-un has held and taken hostage the families of these North Korean troops, likely telling them that if you defect or if you don't do as you're told, that we will either put them in concentration camps, the families of these soldiers, or kill them. So that, of course, is a motivating factor. They also noticed that you can see this is one video footage of the aftermath of one of this offensive operation that they did yesterday. So about 20-ish dead North Korean troops. And they noticed that they piled them up and they put them in a nice even row and they cover up their faces, meaning that likely Russia and North Korea are trying to hide the fact that these are North Korean troops. One thing I want to mention here is, as much as we want to say, haha, Russia is using North Korean men, and look at these North Korean soldiers, they don't know what they're doing, we cannot underestimate them. They are trained soldiers. They definitely know more than all of us do in terms of military conflict and how to conduct offensive operations. And, this will not stop Kim Jong-un, right? Even if Ukraine easily mows through the first 12,000 North Koreans, Kim Jong-un is going to send another 12,000, another 20,000. And that's a real problem, because I'm not seeing the same type of commitment from the West. Ukraine is not going to be betting on French soldiers or English soldiers coming to help the Ukrainians, unfortunately. Whereas Putin now has a fresh supply, a steady supply of an additional, perhaps 5,000 North Korean men per month. That's a very big deal, right? So we cannot underestimate that. And this is why your help is so crucial, guys. So this is why, please, if you have any extra dollars you want to donate to the Ukrainian military, please donate them to the drone pilots. And I have a link below to the Russories drone fund, which will help provide hundreds of drones for the Ukrainian military so they can effectively eliminate as many North Korean men and Russian soldiers as possible. They're trying to kill the Ukrainians. Now let's go over the next piece of news, which is a little bit more positive. So today is also a very bad day for Russian logistics. So the Ukrainian Defense Forces confirmed that they successfully attacked and destroyed a Russian train that was carrying over 40 tanks of fuel in Zaporizhia. So this is very important. Actually, this is one of the very first footage I've seen. I shouldn't say that. There's very rare footage that we get of Ukrainians successfully destroying Russian trains, because they're so difficult to destroy, right? Like, they are actively moving and it's difficult to pinpoint where they are. So this is very meaningful, and you can bet that these tanks of fuel were being used to refuel Russian trucks, Russian tanks in the south of Ukraine. So this was a very big blow, no pun intended, for the Russian logistics in Zaporizhia and the southern area of Ukraine. Additionally, today we also have some confirmation that 2 Russian fuel tankers, the Volhoneft 212 and Volhoneft 239, have sunk in the Kerch Strait. Now, I need to preface this that this is a huge environmental disaster, so I'm not cheering this up. But we know again that Russia is using these fuel tankers to fuel up their military efforts in Ukraine. So this is again a huge blow for the Russian logistics. So there is, a silver lining that even though this is an environmental disaster, both of them, that there's going to be less dead Ukrainian people as a result of these Russian military efforts in occupied territories in Donbass and the south of Ukraine. And last but not least, I want to talk about some successful HUR sabotage missions in Russia. So this is the Ukrainian intelligence acting within Russian territory. And in the last few days, there have been a lot of successful operations. Of course, I talked about the death in my previous video of a key Russian scientist that was developing the Russian missile program and also the drone program that was killed in Moscow a few days ago. And now we have 3 different stories of successful Ukrainian operations in Krasnodar and Ulyanovsk. So the first 2, as you can see, so there's images of first the Ukrainians successfully destroying 3 railway locomotives in Krasnodar. The second picture is a Ukrainian operative and saboteur destroying Su-30 fighter jet in the airfield of Krymsk in Krasnodar. So that just tells you how poor the security in these regions are, or also how good these Ukrainian saboteurs are. Because to kind of support more the effectiveness of Ukrainian saboteurs, the Russians are very well aware that they're saboteurs. They know how prized these jet fighters are. So it just shows you the skill level of these Ukrainian saboteurs in Russia. And this is not really, I don't think it's easy for these Ukrainian saboteurs to conduct these operations. So they're working really, really hard. And the last image is taken from a video that was shared today of an explosion that occurred a few kilometers away from a local locomotive depot in Ulyanovsk at the Ulyanovsk motor plant. This is really significant, actually, this third operation. So the Ukrainians destroyed or damaged, at the very least, a key bridge that was a connection for this motor plant, because this motor plant produces these kind of Scooby-Doo vans and trucks that we've been seeing the Russians use a lot more in the last few months, as they have been scrapping the bottom of the barrel. They no longer have these BMPs, MTOBs to carry, and even trucks to carry fuel, medicine, food, and other supplies to the front line. So they've been resorting to using these small Scooby-Doo vans, which are produced in this Ulyanovsk motor plant. So this is very significant. That's going to weaken the Russian logistics throughout the front line. And that's really an important mission. You can see how precise these sabotage missions have been. So these are the unsung heroes of the war, in my opinion. These Ukrainian saboteurs are really risking their life in very dangerous missions in occupied territories or even in Russia. So let's not forget about them, and I will continue covering their missions in Russia. So that's the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoy my updates. Again, please donate to the Ukrainian FPV drone funds. I'll have a link in the description below to one that you can donate to. And I really appreciate your support for the Ukrainian cause. We will win this, but we need to be united, and we need to continue being decisive in helping the Ukrainian military. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini.